Hi Scorpios, how are you guys? Here is your reading for August 2017. A lot is happening for a lot of signs for this month, and there's always a lot happening for all the signs because the planets are constantly moving, changing, transforming, causing us to transform. Um, but what's going on with Scorpio? So, right now Jupiter is in Libra, and Jupiter is getting ready to actually move into Scorpio in the next coming months. And what that basically means for Scorpios is that there's an upcoming period where you are being asked to grow and transform and expand, and to really push beyond your boundaries and limitations, right? Like Saturn wants us to be within our limitations, and Jupiter wants us to break beyond our limitations. And as Scorpios, you all are good at this in terms of breaking through and transforming. But the way that Jupiter is asking you to do that in your first house and in your sense of self and how you project yourself to the world may actually push you guys past your comfort zone of like the Scorpion who is in secret, who is in hiding, who wants to keep very secretive, wants to keep who they are sort of under wraps or preserved for themselves only, or for maybe their intimate partner who they get to merge with, right? That unless you're really merging with somebody in a very emotional or spiritual or soul-based way or sexual way, that, the people don't actually really know the full spectrum of who a Scorpio truly is. And so the solar and lunar eclipses are going to be happening in your 4th and your 10th houses, right? So 4th and 10th house relationship, Cancer versus Capricorn, the home front, right? The home front, the inner landscape, our relationship to our inner world, the inner playing field of who we are versus the 10th house, which is the public life, who we are, who we play on the outfield, like what we do on the outfield, who we allow ourselves to kind of be and present and project in our public persona and career. Like, who do people know us to be publicly versus who people know us to be at home, which, is going to be a theme that's going to come up for you all once Jupiter comes into your sign in October, because Jupiter is going to ask you to like maybe expand beyond, your perception of self, and maybe allowing perceptions of yourself to expand beyond just within your inner walls and to be projected outward, right? The first house is also the house of the rising sign. So it's the vehicle that we get into to navigate the world and what people see us as. So Jupiter may be asking you to like let your Scorpio freak flag fly. Like, who knows what it might mean, but definitely a push for you all to be more comfortable with allowing yourself to be front and center of things, and to feel more comfortable in that energy of allowing yourself to be seen, right? And so the lunar eclipse, which is going to be happening on August 7th, in Aquarius, is going to be happening in your 4th house. And so the lunar eclipse is going to be happening in conjunction with the full moon in Aquarius. And so full moons have to do with, endings, culminations, things closing out, things changing form, things looking different than how they did previously, right? So when we have a full moon and a lunar eclipse, really, which is also about, the lunar eclipse is about facing the shadow side, right? Like facing those shadow aspects of ourselves wherever it's showing up in our chart, right? And so what is in the 4th house, not only being the house of home, the mother, the family, the moon, our physical home, where we draw our lineage from, our memories, but also like what is like our inner, like it's all about the inner private landscape, the inner private world of who we are internally. And like, what are these shadow aspects that you're facing about yourself, and what are like, where do you draw security from? And are those places of security, not like only secure in because you say that they are. Like, are your places where you're drawing security from, and emotional security and internal security from, are they really serving you? Are they keeping you secure, or are they keeping you locked in? And that makes a lot of sense, because when I was meditating with the cards and just kind of sitting and reflecting on messages for Scorpio and feelings for Scorpio, I put the cards down and I like held them really tightly, and I just like packed them in, and I was like, what am I like? And I just got this feeling of like packing down tight. What am I packing down tight within my inner landscape that actually needs to be released, right? And now we have the solar eclipse happening on August 21st, which is coinciding with the new moon in Leo, the second new moon in Leo. And that's happening in your 10th house, right? And the 10th house is all about what we project to the public, how the public sees us, our career, the image that we've created for ourselves. So it's like, what am I packing down tightly that needs to be brought to an end? And like, what do I need? Like, and with the solar eclipse being about new beginnings, right? The new moon is new beginnings, new projects, a new start, a fresh start to something, to an area of your life, right? And so the 10th house, like, how do I need to change, or what newness do I need to bring? Do I need to bring some of that 4th house, the stuff that I'm hiding within my 4th house persona, into my 10th house public image? Like, what is it that needs to be, sort of exuded or projected in my 10th house? And, Jupiter being, and I said before, Jupiter is going to be, I think around October, entering into your sign, and it's going to be there for a year, right? And Jupiter to me is, the ruling planet of Sagittarius and the 9th house. And when I think of a Sag, I'm a Sag rising, I think of authenticity, I think of honesty, I think of somebody who presents himself as being very genuine. Like, what you see is what you get with the Sagittarius, right? And so with Jupiter entering into your 1st house, very soon, like, how are you allowing people to really see you? And like, where do you stand with the what you see is what you get kind of mentality, right? And like, not necessarily omitting parts of yourself, but allowing yourself to be completely invisibly seen, right? Not all at once, right? Like, let it happen naturally and gradually over time. But where are you allowing yourself to be a little bit more open with the people that you encounter in your public world? So that's kind of what's coming up for you all astrologically. And so now let's get into the reading. And the feelings that I sort of picked up, like I said before, one of them was like feeling like packed down tight. The other, I heard the word maddening. And, okay, I heard the word maddening. Y'all just came out all at once. And I heard the word insanity. And then I also kind of just had this image of laser sharp focus. Okay, here we go. Y'all aren't really messing around right now, Scorpios, are you? See the Ace of Pentacles on the bottom? Sorry, the glare is upon us. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Ace of Pentacles. Yeah. What are you willing to put forth in that 10th house material physical world? Like, what are you willing to offer? What are you willing to put on your hand and hand out, so to speak? Like, what new beginnings are going to be happening for you in your career, 10th house sector? What's in store, I see that there's a desire, right? There's a desire there to want to hand some stuff out, And of course, here we have the sun. And, I definitely, this kid on this horse is absolutely okay. I mean, he's naked, right? So he's absolutely okay with allowing every aspect of himself, even his like naked body, to like be out front and center and to shine under the rays of the sun and to be seen, right? The sun and the moon both illuminate things, but they illuminate things in very, very different ways, right? Like the sun gives us this soft light that is, you know, very nice and easy on the eyes, whereas the moon is like this glaring kind of like bright white light that like is kind of blinding and glaring, right? We prefer and we like what the sun illuminates versus what the moon does sometimes, right? Now I'm gonna have lighting issues. So the ebb and flow of the lighting issues. So there it goes. So we have the sun here, right? Now, maybe if I just point the cards, point it down to the cards, right? So I definitely see this as, you know, a desire. You know, there's something within you that's being there's something internally that's happening, the inner child, that inner, you know, and we're also in Leo, right? So like this is a very Leo card. And with that solar eclipse happening on the 21st in your 10th house, how are you allowing yourself to be front and center in your career sector? What are you doing to allow yourself to, and not in a sense, and like, you know, Leo is front and center, not because they walk around with an authoritative, you know, staff in their hand and they give and they boast directions, or they're constantly directing people. Like, it's not an authoritative kind of attention that a Leo commands, right? It's a warm-hearted admiration that Leos command. You know, that authoritative, you know, attention is more of a Capricorn Aries kind of energy, right? The ram and the goat, right? The ram and the goat. So it's like where, you know, so in putting yourself out there and allowing yourself to shine, right? And allowing things, you know, it's a warmth. There's a warmth, there's an admiration about it. There is definitely, you know, new, and I actually kind of see this Knight of Wands as representing Scorpios this month. And I always think of Scorpios as like fiery water. That's what I always describe Scorpios as, is that y'all might as well be fire signs as well. Like Scorpio should just be like a special fire sign. Because y'all are so fiery. There is a lot of fieriness, you know, when you're constantly transforming and breaking things down and tearing things apart. Like that's like fire. That's like, you know, in the burning, like the phoenix, right? Who rises from the ashes must burn first, right? Like that's a very scorpion kind of mentality of or way of doing things and seeing things, right? So I definitely see you all as representing this Knight of Wands who, you know, this Knight of Wands recognizes that this idea, this creative energy that he has in his hand is vital and it's important. And it's so important that he has to move quickly on it. He has to get to where he's going quickly. Right? And in the spread, he's moving towards the sun. He's moving towards the spotlight. He's moving towards this warmth, this admiration, this here I am in all my glorious creative ideas. And this is what I want to show. This is what I want to move towards, right? So there is this inner desire to move towards, right? Like this creative spotlight. And this Knight of Wands is extroverted, right? He lives his life in the outer world. He lives his life, you know, in the public light. He lives his life in public service, right? He lives his life doing things that can be seen by others, right? And knights, right? Knights, you know, as humble, right? I don't know too much about the history of knights. Within, you know, monarchy systems or hierarchies, I don't know too much about them, but I do know that, you know, I would say there's supposed to be some kind of humility, right, surrounding the idea that a knight is of service to his king, his queen, his country, of service, whatever it may be. But there also is this kind of glory that goes with being a knight, right? And as Scorpios, you all aren't so inclined to allowing yourself to step into that glorious sort of, you know, attention, like, you know, very secretive, very like, this is my inner world. This is, you know, and like I said before, unless, and I'm talking again about the archetype of Scorpio, right? And you may relate as a Scorpio to some of these aspects, but depending on where your moon is, or even where your sun, what house your Scorpio sun is, you know, you could be a very extroverted Scorpio. Like, who knows? But there is this aspect of the Scorpio archetype that is very secretive, does not seek the limelight, and is constantly like is not in this energy, right? But is more in the energy of the Tower or the Death card, right? Where it's not like things are serious in life and death, whereas this kid just on the horse just wants to play and hang out, right? So this page has been coming up for all the signs thus far this month. And I think what the Page of Pentacles really wants to remind every sign about, what I'm really picking up whenever I see this card show up, is that the page wants to remind all of us, right, that like, you are so valuable and you have so much value and you have so much to offer this physical world, right? Don't be afraid to go out and do that, right? I know especially for me, I struggle with, you know, especially being on the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces, I struggle with what is real and tangible and what exists in the metaphysical, subconscious spirit world, like, right? And so in doing that, and like being somebody who has really wants to and has committed her life and her practice and the stuff that she wants to do in her life to spiritual practice and to aligning with my highest self and wanting to, you know, be in alignment with source and recognize the source within me, like all of, you know, sometimes I forget that like, oh, but I still have responsibilities in this physical world, and I still have attachments in this physical world, and I still have work to do that's very valuable in this physical world, and money isn't a bad thing. Oh, I can charge for my services. Oh, like money isn't a bad word. Oh, like I can actually find a way to merge my 10th house responsibility of paying rent, buying food, putting gas in my car, you know, with the things that I want to do to help heal and spiritually align people, right? The healing work, the readings, the astrology work, like all of the work that I want to do, the tattooing work that I do, which is very much aligned with healing, right? Like I do ceremony with my tattoos. And so, you know, recognizing, there was a moment where I recognized like, oh, like it's not a bad thing to charge for these services. Like, oh, okay. Like, so I can find a way, the Piscean, the Pisces within me can actually find a way to like take that spiritual work and that healing work and that subconscious work and the you know, that 8th house, that 12th house, that 4th house work, right? That 9th house work, and bring it into this physical plane and actually use it in a way that it can create stability for me in my 10th house, in my 1st house, in my 2nd house, right? That it doesn't have to be so black and white, that I can learn how to merge and blend, right? And so for you, the great mergers of the zodiac, right? Scorpios, really awesome at merging and in the merging process, right? Like allowing the tail ends of whatever you're merging to die off, right? Well, how can we merge that 4th house and that 10th house world, right? Like how can I actually recognize that, like, yes, my inner landscape, who I am, the places where I draw security are important, but they need to be transformed, and I actually need to start valuing my 10th house work and recognizing what I have to offer. What do I have to offer within my career sector, right? And again, I see this Queen of Pentacles, you know, as like a backup reminder, you know? But let me pull the clarifier for the Queen of Pentacles. What are you harvesting? You know? Can I get a clarification card for the Queen of Pentacles? Clarification for the Queen of Pentacles. Okay. I'm seeing you know what, I actually, maybe that shuffle, that the process of that motion was enough for me to get clarity. I didn't need to pull a card. So this Queen of Pentacles is a maturation, the maturing, right, of this Page of Pentacles. And I definitely see this as you all taking that step, right? And like a queen sits on a throne. She sits front and center. She garners attention. She receives attention. She receives accolades for her work, for her royalty, for her beauty, for whatever it is that she has to offer. But, you know, sometimes being in that limelight can be difficult, because then what ends up happening is when we're in that limelight, we end up becoming dependent on, like, if we're not like this Queen of Pentacles, she's secure in her value, in who she is and what she has to offer, whether anybody else recognizes it or not. And I think, you know, a lot of the times when, especially when we're dealing with water signs, water energy, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, there tends to be, there's a tendency to rely a little bit too heavily on the validation and admiration of others, right? And that and that there could be a fear, right? And that water signs tend to be a bit reclusive, right? Cancer in the crab shell, the Scorpio hidden under the rock, right? Like, or very, very deep waters, and Pisces being able to kind of mask themselves because they are the culmination of all the signs, right? So being able to kind of take on all these different qualities that can kind of mask this very sensitive nature underneath, like my brother does. And that sounded a little bit passive aggressive. It's not, trust me. I love my brother. But, you know, in that reclusivity, underneath it, there's a fear that if I were to allow people to really see myself, to see my naked true self for who I am, it wouldn't be accepted. It wouldn't be okay. It would not, right? And so then the fight to allow yourself to put yourself out there and to give what you have to offer almost becomes dependent on whether or not you receive admiration back in return from your audience. And this Queen of Pentacles could give two fucking shits whether the people that are around her are sitting next to her or, you know, are in front of her. And excuse my language, I curse, like most human beings. But, you know, this queen, she could care less, really, like, if anybody else values this pentacle, that you have to see the value in it. Like, if you are going to go forth and go for it, make sure that you're doing so in a way, like, if you're going to present, or, you know, especially with the solar eclipse happening in your 10th house, new beginnings in the career, new beginnings in your public life, new beginnings in your public image, if you are going to do that, doing so in a way that it's not about the attention that you can generate or the accolades that you can generate, but it's more so about you actually recognizing that what I had to offer is valuable. Whether anybody else sees it really is kind of, you know, I don't give a damn, right? And I still see, right, like in this Three of Pentacles, like something is being built, something is being created, right? And it's like we don't necessarily want to go here before we've like done this, right? And even as the cards are kind of lined up, when I was looking at them, the relationship that I saw was here, right? Not so much here. Maybe when we get there, there will be a relationship, but I saw something more so kind of happening between these two cards, right? And so it's like the foundation, right? And this Sun card, you know, the metaphorical, you know, symbolism, what this symbolizes to me for you all in this reading for Scorpios is, right, like the is the limelight, is the spotlight, is, you know, with regard to your 10th house, is the limelight, the spotlight, allowing that Leo new moon to really come and shine through into your 10th house sector of career and your public image. But before you do that, right, like, y'all are smart. And even when I was talking about before, when I was, there's a sharp, I wrote down here, laser sharp focus, right? I wrote, you know, maddening, insanity. Those were just a couple other things that came to mind, but laser sharp focus, building, right? Like, there's focus that's happening in this Three of Pentacles. Something is being built with intention. Something is being built with purpose, right? So before, it's like I see you all here, but be mindful that, yes, you know, definitely have laser sharp focus and be mindful and calculating, right, over your plan for your career or a career change or a career move. But don't be calculating and too focused on the persona, right? Like, be mindful of the like try not to merge or confuse your career and your public and your persona. Who, like, try not to confuse those two, right? Like, don't now go out of your way and try to, like, become this brand new person in order to, like, get this energy here, you know? Be mindful of that. Don't manipulate. Y'all don't manipulate, you know? My moon is in the 8th house, so sometimes I have a tendency to want to emotionally manipulate situations. Don't do it. It's just not worth it. Then you realize what you did, and then you feel bad about it afterwards, and you got to go apologize. Anyway, so we have this Queen of Swords here. I definitely reading this as another energy, because it's just not flowing with what I'm, you know, it could read into, right, the calculating, the mental necessity of what it takes to build, right, when we're here. But I am also reading this as a separate energy, possibly an air sign, a Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra, who, you know, who has a lot to offer. You know, the Queen, you know, I like the Queen of Swords. I'm also, you know, I relate very much to the Queen of Swords being an Aquarius, right? She has a lot of information and knowledge that she's gathered. She's very honest, but there is also this sort of warmth and kindness and softness to the Queen, because she's also mixed with the elements of water, being a queen, right? So there's still there's still an emotional element there that is not present with the King of Swords. But I definitely see she has a lot to offer. You know, can I get clarification on the Queen of Swords? And I think she wants to help you. You know, she recognizes, or this person, this air sign recognizes, right, that, you know, recognizes the value of what it is that you have to offer, Scorpio. And I really see this as relating to career. I might do separate love readings, because I just feel like there's a lot going on that, you know, to do love, career, family, whatever, personal growth, spiritual, whatever, you know, it's a lot. But I'm definitely getting this reading as a career-based reading, especially with what's happening in your 10th house this month. But, you know, this Queen of Swords, she sees the internal. She sees what is underneath, right? Whatever persona. She sees what potential you hold and whatever it is that you're trying to do. But let me get a clarification on this Queen of Swords. Can I get a clarifier for the Queen of Swords? Okay. 2 tens. We have the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Swords. She wants to bring you out of hiding. She wants to she wants to help, right? Like, I feel like this nine of this or not two tens. I'm sorry. You have 10 of swords and the nine of wands. So I definitely feel, you know, I'm definitely reading that in the past, all these swords represent different past attempts, right? At possibly trying to build something in the career sector, building something substantial, taking new ideas out into the world, and just feeling like they were rejected or things didn't work out, and those swords turned around to stab you in the back. That things didn't work out, right? And you feel drained, you feel tired, you're not really up for another venture out towards. There is this desire to, right? But there has been a lot of struggle with past attempts to maybe take previous ideas or, new ways of doing things that you believed, right, were totally valuable, right? But, in the sensitivity of a water sign, and I get it, because my moon is in Cancer. I keep talking about my moon and my, being in Cancer, but I really definitely relate a lot to that feeling of, like, it's better for me to just kind of close myself off from the world and to just do my own thing, because in doing that, I don't end up here, right? I don't end up here. And now I have all of these goddamn swords to pull out of my back. I'm tired and I'm exhausted, but you're still ready and willing to go, right? And that's very Scorpion, right? Like, always still ready, right? Like being the sign that deals with constant transformation in life or death. I've known some Scorpion folks who talk about constantly feeling uncomfortable and constantly feeling like they're in a process of changing and transformation. It's very uncomfortable. But that because of that, spiritual growth and change has become a process that's very much a part of their lives, a regular part of their lives. But this Queen of Swords, and I take back what I said before, that it's only that it relates to another person. This also could be you, taking one of these swords and commanding the attention, right? Like these two queens, they command attention. They don't command it in a way that a king does, which can be kind of brutal and forceful and willful, right? The queen, like the empress, has to do very little to bring attention her way. She's very beautiful, and I do believe that people are attracted to kindness and warmth, and people who give a damn. I think that is very, very true, that we are attracted to the people in our lives that give us security and don't treat us like shit, right? But I do see this as you taking one of these swords and commanding, right? Commanding the attention, commanding that public attention, that public persona, right? And in doing so, feeling, right, the value multiplies, right? You had one pentacle here and now you have 9, and you're independent, you're standing alone, you are abundant, you are a creator, right? And I do of material things, right? And that normally happens when we work. We gain material abundance as a result of the money that we acquire, right? Which a lot of us acquire money through working and through career and through making changes and taking risks in our career, right? And in taking that risk, right? Like, this is a risk. Like, this person is like, I'm going to take a risk, but I'm going to do it again. And in doing it again, right? And trying it one more time, you end up being underneath the light of this sun, right? This yellow background. And we have the 3 of Wands here. And yeah, preparing for that expansion, preparing for that Jupiter coming into your first house, in your sign, showing up at your door, being like, hey, where else can we venture out to now? Now that we've been able to venture out and get this sort of independence and self-assuredness in that 10th house, where else can we expand to, right? Like, what other horizons can we take these pentacles to, right? Like, where else can we grow? I definitely see this as you all preparing that in this process of taking this sword out of taking one of these swords out of your back and holding it and commanding it and being ready to maneuver regardless of your fear within your career, that you end up in a place where, you know, you're ready to expand beyond and even into other sectors beyond just your career. So let's pull an outcome card for Scorpio for August 2017. Outcome for Scorpio. That's a lot. Outcome for Scorpio, August 2017. Yeah. Six of Pentacles, balance. I see you being able to help others to overcome whatever fear or need they have, right? How I see you all being able to pass on this abundance to others. I see you all feeling very balanced. And between, you know, your 4th house and your 10th house, like finding that balance, finding that bite of being, of feeling secure, right, within yourself. So where now you're giving from a place of abundance. You're giving from a place of security because you yourself are very secure. So I definitely see really awesome things for Scorpio for August 2017. And if you all would like a reading, you can email me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com, or you can go to my personal website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and click on the reading section. And if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. And if you like this video, if it resonated with you, give it a thumbs up and comment below. All right, I will see you all in September. All right, bye, Scorpios.